Listen up, if you still think handguns are only irons and instinct, you're living in the past. I'm standing in the firing rooms at the Glock Store Performance and Custom Shop in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'll tell you straight, optics change the shooter. They make you faster. They make you more consistent. They strip away hesitation. That's not marketing fluff. That's what I watch happen day after day when someone moves from plain sights to a dot. Let me set the scene. You can join this shift two ways. One, you buy a factory MOS-equipped pistol and adapt plates for your chosen red dot. Two, you send the slide to a gunsmith and let them mill a permanent low-profile footprint. Our 10-day optics program is exactly that. Send the slide, we fit the optic, we return it in 10 days or less. No adapters, no compromises. Now, about the optic that's stirring the water, the Trijicon RMR. Yeah, that RMR, ruggedized miniature reflex, is the gold standard. Think of it like the luxury German sedan of pistol red dots, built like a tank, tuned like a race car. Trijicon has been in combat glass long before most names were even thought of, so their reputation for survivability under harsh use is not hype, it's earned. Here's the new twist. The dot now comes in green. People split on this evenly if you believe the polls we ran. Red fans swear by contrast on common backgrounds. Green fans point to brightness and how the eye prioritizes that wavelength. Truth is, green reads brighter for a lot of shooters, especially in bright daylight or visually busy scenes. But whether you pick red or green, the RMR on the Glock gives you a compact 3.25 MOA dot that's surgical for precision while still intuitive for speed. Let's get practical battery controls adjustments. The power comes from a CR 2032 coin cell. Insert the negative facing down, positive up. Trijicon supplies a sealing plate to keep moisture away from the electronics. Do not skip that. On the body, you'll find up and down buttons for reticle intensity and click adjustments for windage and elevation. Small things, but in the field, they're everything. Installation, I'm demoing on a Glock 19 Gen 5 MOS. Safety first, magazine out, chamber clear, trigger pulled in a safe direction. The MOS cutout accepts adapter plates from many manufacturers. We favor what we call the C-plate because it hugs the slide profile and finishes to match. When installed, it looks like it belongs there. Drop it in, snug it up. The optic mounts to the plate with screws, and here's the non-negotiable. Use thread locker. A dab of Loctite on the screws prevents that microscopic backout that wants to turn your optic into a shooting room souvenir. Check them periodically. You're the operator, you're the maintenance crew. A note about co-witnessing. With low mounts, like the RMR, factory sight lines rarely line up. If you want to use iron sights as a backup, plan on suppressor height sights that clear the optic glass. Otherwise, accept the trade-off for the lower sight picture and the speed payoff. This first step, swapping a dot onto a pistol, is deceptively simple. It changes trigger trust, sight picture, and how you move between targets. But there's more under the hood. Torque settings, mounting tolerances, and shooting drills that make the dot truly sing. What most people don't realize will blow their expectations, and it starts with one overlooked detail during installation. That overlooked detail is torque, the tiny turn that decides whether your dot stays where you put it or vanishes into the recoil fog. People skip the torque spec like it's busy work. It isn't. The difference between a sight that sings and a sight that drifts is a few careful inch-pounds and a disciplined habit. When you tighten those mounting screws, you are not just fastening metal, you are building a relationship between shooter and sight. Listen closely. Those optic screws should be treated like a precision firearm part. Too loose, and the optic will shift under vibration. Too tight, and you risk stripping threads or stressing the housing. The sweet zone is narrow. Follow the manufacturer's spec and use a torque driver. If the spec calls for a value, translate it into feel by practicing with the tool. A torque driver is not optional when you're threading 3.25 MOA precision into your slide. Next, thread locking. I said Loctite before, and I'll double down. Use the right compound. Blue medium strength is usually the correct choice. It keeps the screws from backing out under heat and recoil while still allowing future removal without destroying the plate. Apply just a whisper of thread locker. Wipe the excess. bag, and tag the factory screws and extras. That little ritual separates confident operators from frantic parts searches at the range. Heat is another enemy. Repeated strings, especially in warm environments, make metals expand at different rates. That tiny thermal dance can coax a poorly torqued screw loose. Part of professional maintenance is a pre-range checklist. Quick optics check, sight alignment, screw security, battery seating. That 2-minute ritual has saved more than one shooter from an unexpected zero shift mid-session. Speaking of batteries, don't assume the cell is sealed by faith alone. The sealing plate Trijicon provides does a job, but debris, body oils, and improper seating can compromise it. Use a clean workspace when changing the coin cell. Press the sealing plate flush and torque its screws per spec. The seal looks trivial until condensation from a high humidity day sneaks past and ruins circuitry. You didn't buy a precision optic to serve as a paperweight. Zeroing is not a checkbox. It's a process. Start strong at close range, a 25-yard confirmation drill, and then stretch to longer engagements that match your expected use. Run strings, then run them again after you hot load the pistol with rapid follow-ups. Your dot's point of impact will shift slightly once the gun gets hot and the shooter starts moving. Measure that and compensate. Use consistent hold points and a disciplined trigger press. The dot will reward disciplined input with repeatable impact. Practice method matters. Dot work thrives when you combine speed and precision drills. Do controlled pairs on multiple targets, then force transitions where the dot has to snap between sights. Run barricade and movement drills in our multi-direction rooms if you can. The skill is not in having the dot. It is in teaching your eyes and hands to treat that reticle as an extension of your intent. Finally, maintenance cadence. Check screws after the first 50 rounds, then at every range session thereafter. Replace the battery before you see dimming. Don't run it to death mid-match. Keep a micro tool kit in your range bag, torque driver, spare screws, thread locker, and a spare coin cell. That kit is the difference between a cool malfunction story and a ruined day. You've upgraded the gun. Now, upgrade how you care for it. The payoff is subtle the first time. Faster splits, tighter groups, confidence when shots matter. But there's one last trap most shooters stumble into, and it's not mechanical, it's psychological. What happens when the dot fails under pressure? That question separates hobbyists from operators.
You've taught your eyes to trust that tiny 3.25 MOA dot. You've practiced transitions, tightened screws with a torque driver, and tucked a micro kit into your range bag.
But now imagine the reticle vanishes mid-string. Not a slow dim, an immediate blackout, while a threat or a timed run is unfolding. What do you do in the split second between trust and doubt? First, breathe and direct your hands. The human instinct is to panic and reload the narrative. My optic failed. Real operators train for failure as often as they train for speed. The easiest recovery is to revert to fundamentals, sight picture, trigger press, and immediate action drills. If you've set your suppressor height iron sights or practiced co-witnessing transitions, your brain will already have a bridge to take over. If you didn't, you'll still have the hammer of fundamentals. Index the pistol, align the iron post, and press a clean trigger. Know your failure modes. Batteries die, wiring fails, sealing plates leak, screws back out, and electronics can cook under sustained rapid fire or environmental stress. A dead battery is the simplest. The reticle fades before it disappears. A wiring short or crushed trace can be sudden and total. Mechanical shock can shear a mount or jar an optic out of zero. Each breakdown has a signature. Learn those signatures in controlled settings so there's no surprise when they happen under heat. Plan redundancy like you plan reloads. If your work profile or carry demands mission assurance, install suppressor height night sights or tall 3-dot backups. If you prefer the low profile route, keep a mental checklist. Can I get accurate hits at 15 to 25 yards with irons? Can I transition between targets without the dot? These are not conservative questions. They are professional ones. Damage control matters. If the dot dies during a training run, stop and inspect. Verify battery seating. Look for visible mechanical shifts and check screw torque. If the optics housing shows a fracture or the plate has spun, Don't force it back together and keep firing. That's how more parts get ruined and how confidence erodes. If the failure occurs in a defensive scenario and you're continuing the engagement, you can defer maintenance until after the event. After the event, document what happened, which screws were loose, what the battery case looked like, any evidence of moisture. Treat it as post-action intelligence. Psychology is the final battlefield. Over-reliance on an electronic aid creates a brittle skill set. Operators who only ever use dots suddenly face a crisis when the light goes out. To avoid that, rotate drills that strip the optic, force dry fire, live fire, and low light sequences where you must shoot irons or use natural cover. Build a muscle memory bridge so your reaction is mechanical, not cognitive. Here's the last hard truth. The dot makes you better, but you are the system's final redundancy. An optic extends ability, not replaces it. Keep the kit. Keep the torque driver. Keep the spare CR 2032 cells, and more importantly, keep practicing failures until they feel like any other drill. Because when the reticle vanishes, the man who trained for it will still put rounds where they need to be. So what is the one practice that turns a moment of failure into an automatic win? It's simple and brutal. Run your string without the dot. No excuses, no partials. Do it in the same rooms, the same distances, the same stress. Force your hands to remember how to hit when the electronics betray you. The person who does that will never be surprised. The person who doesn't will be praying to their chosen brand